Have you ever felt stuck, like you're running on a treadmill, putting in all this effort, but you're not actually going anywhere? Well, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to crack the code on why making a change is so incredibly hard. And it all comes down to these invisible forces that are, believe it or not, running our lives, our habits. We're going to dive into the science behind them, all based on the brilliant work of Charles Duhigg. You know the story, right? You buy the gym membership and it just gathers dust. You make a New Year's resolution and it's totally gone by February. It's so easy to blame ourselves, to think we just don't have enough willpower. But what if that's not it at all? What if the real culprit is an invisible force, like a silent co-pilot who's been steering your life this whole time without you even noticing? Okay, get this. Researchers have found that a whopping 55% of our daily actions are completely unconscious. Just think about that for a second. That's more than half of your day, every single day, just running on autopilot. So it kind of makes you wonder, who's really in charge here? Now, this invisible autopilot, it isn't inherently good or bad, but it is incredibly powerful. Every single one of those automatic actions is a step, either toward the life you want or away from it. So, the very first step to becoming the architect of your life, instead of just a passenger, is to understand how this whole system actually works. You see, our brains are masters of efficiency. They're always looking for ways to save energy. So this part of the brain, called the basal ganglia, think of it like a little factory foreman. It bundles up complex behaviors into these effortless routines. I mean, remember the first time you drove a car? You had to think about every little thing. Now, you can probably drive home while planning dinner. And you can thank this incredible habit-forming ability for that. So how do we peek under the hood of this autopilot? Well, it turns out there's a universal blueprint for every single habit. Doesn't matter if it's a good one or a bad one. It's a simple, elegant, and incredibly powerful framework. It's called the habit loop. It's like a little 3-act play that our brain performs constantly. First up, you have the cue. That's the trigger, right? Like your phone buzzing on the table. That leads to step 2, the routine. That's the action you take, like immediately picking it up to check. And finally, you get the reward, that little hit of dopamine when you see a new message, which tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's do that again. Let's see how this plays out in the real world. Meet Mark. For him, the whole habit loop started with a simple, really powerful cue, that rich smell of roasting coffee beans from the cafe on his way to work. That smell was basically the starting gun for a race he didn't even know he was running. So that cue, that smell, triggered a really well-worn path in his brain. Without even thinking about it, he'd find himself walking inside and ordering his usual. There was no big decision-making process. It was just a smooth, automatic sequence of actions. And the grand finale of this little play? The reward. That first warm, satisfying sip of coffee. His brain just flooded with pleasure, and that created this powerful neurological link between the smell of the coffee shop and that amazing feeling. And that is what locks the habit in place, making it almost impossible to resist the next day. And this brings us to the single most important idea about changing your habits. You don't get rid of the cue, and you don't ignore the reward you're craving. The magic, the real game changer, happens when you hijack the loop. You keep the beginning and the end, but you consciously swap out that middle part. That right there is the secret to rewriting your habits. Okay, but what if you didn't have to fight every single bad habit one by one? I mean, that sounds exhausting. What if you could find one single habit, a first domino, that could set off a chain reaction of positive change through your whole life? Well, these are what Charles Duhigg calls keystone habits. A keystone habit is a small change that has this massive outsized impact. It's the one little tweak that creates a tidal wave of transformation. And to really see how powerful this is, let's take a look at the story of Rahul. So Rahul was feeling like he was in a rut. He was overwhelmed, he knew he needed a change, but he just had no idea where to even start. So he made a really simple but powerful choice. He would focus on one single keystone habit, 30 minutes of exercise every single day. That's it, nothing else, just that one domino. And then the magic started to happen. That one exercise habit was the spark. All of a sudden, he found himself wanting to eat healthier foods. He started sleeping better, his focus at work got sharper, his stress started to melt away, and his confidence just skyrocketed. That one small habit sent ripples of positive change through literally every area of his life. Now, this brings up a really fascinating point about self-control. We tend to think of willpower as this magical talent that some people are born with and others just aren't. But the science tells a totally different story. Willpower isn't a trait, it's a muscle, And just like any other muscle, you can train it and make it stronger. Take the story of Anita, a Harvard student who was really struggling with procrastination. Her professor gave her some simple advice. Pick one small daily active discipline. She chose to make her bed, meticulously, every single morning. This tiny little task was like a daily workout for her willpower muscle. And pretty soon, she found that new strength spilling over into her studies, her health, and even how much time she spent on her phone. But here's the thing. Even with a perfect understanding of the habit loop and a well-trained willpower muscle, there's still one more piece to the puzzle. And honestly, it's the one that truly makes change last. It's the story you tell yourself about yourself. Let me tell you about Niraj. For 5 years, he fought a losing battle with his snooze button. He tried every trick in the book to become an early riser, but nothing ever stuck. He knew about the habit loop, but he was missing the most crucial element. His actions were at war with his own identity. His big aha moment wasn't about finding a new alarm clock or a better routine. It was the realization that he was trying to force a habit that totally contradicted his core belief about himself. You see, he saw himself as a night owl. So trying to wake up early just felt like this constant, exhausting fight against who he fundamentally was. And this, right here, is the ultimate key. This is what unlocks lasting change. It's the shift from trying to being. It's a difference between saying, I'm trying to eat healthy, and saying, I am a person who values my health. When your actions become an expression of who you are, that internal resistance just dissolves, and the right choices become the natural choices. So, there you have it. You now have the blueprint. You understand the hidden architecture of your habits, and you have the tools to become your own behavioral architect, to literally redesign your life from the inside out. So here's your action plan. First, you've got to identify your habit loop, the cue, routine, and reward. Second, start with just one keystone habit. Don't try to do everything at once. Third, build up that willpower muscle with small daily wins. And finally, and most importantly, shift your identity. Make the habit a part of who you are. So I'm going to leave you with this one thought. Forget about this grand idea of overhauling your entire life overnight. Just think about this one question. Based on everything we've just talked about, what is the one small habit, the first domino, that you are going to start tomorrow?